Let me get this straight. A Cleveland Browns football player who happens to be black rips off the helmet of an opposing player who happens to be white. The opposing player is a quarterback, and the Cleveland Browns player claims that the opposing player used a racial slur against him. Really? The opposing player's coach is black. The opposing player's center, the guy who hikes him the ball, is black. The team is predominantly black, and the opposing player plays in a league that is predominantly black. Let's go to the videotape.
Rips the helmet off Rudolph's head and then eventually swings it and hits him in the head.
Now, after the game, the Cleveland Browns player was interviewed. Did he mention the racial slur?
Embarrassing, foolish, and bad representation of who we want to be and what we're trying to do with the rest of the season. I made a mistake, and I lost my cool, and I regret it. It's going to come back to hurt our team. The guys who jumped in the little scrum, I appreciate my team having my back, but it just never got to that point. That's on me.
Do you feel you played the final game of the season tonight?
No clue.
Did Mason say something? Is that what started things?
They just got to go look at it. I'm not going to comment on it.
Now to the opposing player who allegedly used the racial slur, Mason Rudolph. What did he say?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty cowardly, kind of pretty bush league, which, there's plenty of tape out there to watch. I haven't seen it replay, but yes, I really haven't seen it, anything like that, yeah.
How do you feel?
I'm fine. I'm good. Good to go.
Did he hit your flesh with it?
Did he what?
Did he hit your flesh with the helmet?
Go watch the replay. I don't know. I mean, I remember getting hit by a lot of people, so go take a look. There's plenty of tape out there to watch. I'm not going to speak for what may have happened.
You know what sparked it at all?
Do what?
How did it happen?
Once again, I got sacked. Once again, I mean, he had some words and kept on keeping on, and one thing led to another. So, but you can watch the tape, go back and check it out, and make your own assumptions. So.
Note, Garrett was specifically asked whether Mason Rudolph said anything that set him off.
Did Mason say something? Is that what started things?
They just got to go look at it. I'm not going to comment on it.
Did he say something? Not going to comment on it? Just take a look at it and see? How do you take a look at something and see a racial slur? But days later, that's exactly what Myles Garrett alleged Mason Rudolph said. This is what he said according to the quarterback's lawyer. Myles Garrett falsely asserted that Mason Rudolph uttered a racial slur toward him prior to swinging a helmet at Mason's uncovered head in a desperate attempt to mitigate his suspension. This is a lie. This false allegation was never asserted by Garrett in the aftermath of the game, never suggested prior to the hearing, and conspicuously absent in the apology published by the Browns and adopted by Garrett. The malicious use of this wild and unfounded allegation is an assault on Mason's integrity, which is far worse than the physical assault witnessed on Thursday. This is reckless and shameful. We will have no further comment, end of quote. Holy Smollett, don't be surprised if everybody's back in court on a lawsuit for defamation. And again, have you seen Mike Tomlin, the quarterback's coach? Black. What about his center, Marquise Pouncey? Black. The quarterback's teammates? Majority black. Majority black. And about the alleged slur, here is what the NFL said as reported by USA Today. NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy said Thursday the league investigated Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett's claim that Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph had used a racial slur against him prior to their brawl in last Thursday's game and found no evidence to substantiate the allegation, end of quote. And again, the NFL is some 70% black. So this white quarterback, by the way, not starting, uses a racial slur against a black opposing player, a racial slur that nobody else heard, on a team with a black coach, a black center, and again, in a league that is majority black, as is his team.
Most illogical reaction.
Professor Wilfred Riley teaches at a historically black college. He's written a book called Hate Crime Hoax, in which he says in the last 5 years, there have been some 400 fake hate crimes, many of them quite high profile.
409 figure is the number of hoaxes concentrated in the past 5 years that I've found. That number is currently up to 516.
Wow.
But in a sentence describing the book, many, if not most, of the very high-profile, widely publicized hate crime incidents that over the past 4 or 5 years we've seen constantly in the media. So Jussie Smollett, absolutely confident calling that a hoax. A week before that, Covington Catholic, where the original claim was that these prep school athletes had attacked and almost brutalized an elderly Native American man. Yasmin Saweed, the claim that Trump supporters ripped at her hijab. Eastern Michigan, racialist graffiti targeting black students. Air Force Academy, where a literal general had to travel to campus to put down what initially looked like racial frictions. Grand Rapids, the young black girl pre-college who claimed that boorish white men literally urinated on her. Kean College, that's the death threats delivered to black students on a college campus. Wisconsin Parkside, that's the one with the nooses. The burnt black church in Mississippi. University of Virginia, where the claim was that the fraternities were running these sort of story of O-style anti-feminist rape rings. All of those turned out to be fake, along with roughly 500 other cases.
So some 500 fake hate crimes in 5 years?
Former NFL player Edon Kaufman has been charged with staging a fake hate crime in Georgia. Gwinnett County Police say Kaufman damaged his own business's property and spray-painted racial slurs, a swastika, and MAGA around the establishment to get insurance money.
An act of intimidation. The perpetrators set the sanctuary ablaze and left a spray-painted message on the exterior of the worship home, "Vote Trump."
Police arrested a man in the burning of a historically black church in Greenville. Police arrested Andrew McClinton for arson today. The bishop told us McClinton is a member of the Hopewell Missionary Baptist Church. Investigators believe he also spray-painted "Vote Trump" on the side of the church building.
A Muslim woman says she was verbally attacked by a group of men, and it didn't stop there.
Initially, 18-year-old Yasmin Saweed claimed she was attacked by those evil male Trump supporters who called her a terrorist and threatened her. It was so bad she had to write about it on Facebook, but it reeked of BS, because it was.
Someone scrawled anti-Semitic graffiti on the campus of Nassau Community College. It has happened several times in the past 2 months.
And they say a student is responsible. That student tells police that he did it because he felt he was being harassed. 20-year-old Jaskarat Sani was arrested yesterday after he was caught drawing swastikas on the exterior of H building and then KKK on F building.
She said that apparently someone had come into the bathroom earlier that night and wrote a racist slur on the wall, which said, "I'm going to kill on," and then they listed 3 room members.
Police say Arthur was interviewed after it happened the first time. Then yesterday, more graffiti was found. Arthur was arrested on campus for both crimes.
He was friends with students of color. The person themselves was a person of color, mixed, and people are shocked.
Breaking news in the investigation into threats against Jewish centers. A man has now been arrested in St. Louis. Let's go over to Bryn Gingras. She's got much more on this. So Bryn, what do you know about this?
And Kate, we know that man's name is Juan Thompson. He's believed to be behind 8 bomb threats against Jewish institutions. Now, he does not appear to be the main person behind the wave of threats that targeted centers all across the nation. Rather, a copycat, jumping on the anti-Semitic acts and doing it to harass a woman he had a romantic relationship with, according to police.
And then we have the aforementioned Jussie Smollett.
Beaten with a noose around his neck and hospitalized. Empire star Jussie Smollett was the victim of a vicious, racist, and homophobic attack.
His attackers hurled racial and homophobic slurs.
2 people yelled racist and homophobic slurs.
Racial and homophobic slurs.
Not only homophobia, we're talking about racism. We're talking about hate with steroids.
Oh, and that last gentleman, Al Sharpton, well, he's in the Fake Crime Hall of Fame.
Tawana Brawley is a 16-year-old girl whose story is the talk of New York these days.
The New York State teenager who claims that she was abducted and raped by 6 white men.
In the late 1980s, Tawana Brawley became a household name as her horrific stories spread across the nation.
She had KKK written across her chest and across her stomach.
leading to widespread outrage.
We're going to expose the facts in these crimes that you do against black people.
And intense soul searching about race in America.
Let Miss Brawley represent what we're not going to stand for as parents, as Americans, and as human beings.
Plot twist.
My name is Tawana Brawley. All right. I'm not a liar and I'm not crazy.
It was 1987. Tawana Brawley was a 15-year-old who claimed she was raped by 6 white men in law enforcement. And Al Sharpton took up her cause. But there was no forensic evidence of any sexual attack, and there was evidence Tawana made up the whole story. The case, labeled a hoax, was dismissed, and Sharpton was forced to pay $65,000 to those he had named.
You see, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Smollett, Mr. Sharpton, what they've done now is trivialized hate crime to the point now where when there are legitimate instances of hate crime, people are going to be skeptical. And why not? Because apparently the instances of hate in America has become so infrequent that people have to make it up. And apparently they are.
Oh my goodness, is that him? Do we have to go now? We have to right now. Come on, hurry up. Aren't you the man from the Empire Show? That movie?
Yes. Got a problem?
Yeah. Why do you doing around here?
Guys, come on, the accent. More white, more racist, hillbilly. KKK.
My dad always says, if you're going to get really good at something, you got to practice.
We're talking about practice.
I'm Larry Elder, and this has been the Larry Elder Show for Epic Times. I will see you next time.